Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is a big video because I don't normally give advice on what singles to invest in. It's very rare. Normally I focus very heavily on the sealed side of things, as you can see, and not so much the singles. And there's a reason for that I'll get into in a second. The examples I'm going to give to invest in, I'll hold out towards the end of the video. Before we get into the exact singles I'll get into, I want to give some background into Pokemon singles investing, which I've sort of touched on before, but never in maybe as much detail. Hey, before we jump into the video though, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you want to join up as a channel member, you can do so. It's nice and easy. Just jump onto the homepage, click join. You can shoot me an email with any Pokemon investing related question and I'll get back to you in a timely manner. So, Pokemon singles. So first of all, this is the caveat I want to make right at the start. Singles are way more volatile to invest in than sealed product. There is very little, especially if you're buying a sealed booster box at recommended retail price or below, there's very little downside risk in investing in a Pokemon booster box. Singles, however, can be so up and down, it's crazy. They're volatile. That's the word, that is the correct word to use when it comes to singles. Singles are a lot more volatile. So how exactly can you make it safer? How can investing in singles be safer and we really get a lot of upside risk with very little downside risk? If you look over the history of Pokemon cards, especially if we're talking modern era, maybe XY onwards, Sun and Moon onwards, we see the same sort of trend just happening over and over again. And like I said, before I get into telling you what singles I'd invest in right now, I want to go over this sort of principle before we get into that so it makes sense as to why I'm picking those singles. So, as I was saying, there seems to be this trend that just constantly continues in the singles world in Pokemon cards. And here's another example, right? As a set comes out, the same pattern seems to happen. Set comes out, card is at an all-time high. As more and more product gets released and more gets opened, we see more and more supply of singles, and therefore singles pricing seems to dip. Now that's the rule. There can be exceptions to the rule, like we've seen in the latest Temporal Forces set. A few cards did the opposite, a month or two after release, where they've actually gone up because pull rates have proven to be a little bit harder than expected, and sentiment towards particular cards has caused a few to go up. But the general rule, that's the exception. The general rule is set comes out, the hits are at an all-time high, then they'll drop off as more supply gets open and more of them get on the market. Then they'll reach this sort of equilibrium for a period of time, and then the big thing happens where quite often the set seems to have gone out of rotation, never to be printed again. We see booster boxes go up in price, and then inevitably we see a lot of the top chase cards starting to follow the same trend and go up in price. And here's just an example, right? These are a few examples. Chilling Rain is a set that's gone out of rotation now. The likelihood of this set ever being printed again is next to nothing. We're seeing booster box prices go up, and we see things like the top three hits. Moltres, of course, is a beautiful card inside this set. I'm not going to go over prices because this is about the rule, not the price. I'm going to go over singles pricing towards the end of this video when I give my examples. But we can see the Moltres ticking up in price. Another example, of course, the main chase card from this set, Blaziken, ticking up in price. Another one from this set, which is a beautiful card, the Galarian Rapidash. What was that show? Was it My Pony or something? It looks like that, doesn't it? Is that what it was? Everyone had a sister growing up, didn't they, that were into that while we were watching Dragon Ball Z, and people, Vegeta punch people's face in and collect Pokemon cards, where our sisters were with Barbies. And what was it? My something pony? It looks like that anyway, in a roundabout way. Another example, Fusion Strike, back on track. I've lost myself a bit there. Fusion Strike, hey, here's another example, right? So, same thing, out of rotation, box price ticking up, and the main hits inside the set ticking up. Gengar ticking up, Espeon ticking up. Now, the big question is, okay, can these cards sustain that sort of uptick in price and eventually reach a level where they just go, okay, that's the market price for that card. If you want that card, that's what you've got to play. Don't know. It's so hard to know. Cards, like I was saying, they can be like this, and they can be like that over periods of time, like long periods of time. It might hold a certain price for 2 or 3 years, like the Latios and Latios old art from Team Up. That's just at a bonkers price. Will it be that price forever? Possibly. Had you bought it 2 years ago and sold it now, would you be up? Well and truly. If you'd followed this exact same rule that I'm explaining now, yes. So I think when it comes to investing in singles, the equation's pretty simple. Don't buy at the start, wait for it to dip, wait for it to level out, wait for it to nearly get out of stock, then purchase, then enjoy the ride up, and then sell. If you want to make money off singles, I think that's a pretty fair rule. So that leads to the big question, what singles would I invest in right now if I wanted to make some money? Now, I'm not saying these singles will shoot up in price and then hold that price forever and never go back down, but these singles are probably getting to the place where the sets are about to, the next rotation, these sets will move out. And if we look at them, they've been following a exactly similar trend to what I've been talking about. So here's a few suggestions. I'm not saying go out and buy them because they're going to go to the moon, but if we look at that rule that I was talking about, these suggestions could see some uptick in price. First one being a couple that I've chosen from Crown Zenith. Now, Crown Zenith is a beautiful set. We all know it's been printed into the ground. However, it's had phenomenal demand. It's the final Pokemon card set with yellow borders. There's some beautiful artworks and cards inside this. I think the Mewtwo V-Star at $45. Look at that trend. Is it undervalued at $45? Possibly. Could it move up to be a $60 or $65 card in the next year or 2 years? Also very, very possible. Like, that's a 50% gain if it happens to move to, say, a $65 card in the next 2 years. It's very possible. It's a beautiful card. We know it couples up with the Charizard promo from the top there that used to come in that, what was it, Sword and Shield UPC? It could. Another one, Glaceon V-Star, $18 this is sitting at. Same thing. Look at that graph, the trend. As soon as Crown Zenith's supply starts to dry up, which could be a little while away because we know it's been printed really heavily, but it could be 6 months, a year, this card could see an uptick. All it needs to do is become a $30 card, which it could well do. And, you're talking like 75, 80% gains if this becomes a $30 card. Some other examples, Silver Tempest, the Rayquaza Trainer Gallery. This is a beautiful card. It's the best card I've pulled. I haven't pulled the Lugia yet from Silver Tempest, but I have pulled this awesome Rayquaza, which is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Hence the beautiful Celestial Storm sitting center there in the ETB of Rayquaza on it. But Rayquaza Trainer Gallery at $34. It's not the easiest card to pull. In fact, its pull rates are actually pretty close to that Lugia V. So same thing. Look at that graph. It's leveled out. This is a nice looking card. It couples in nicely with some of those Rayquazas from Evolving Skies, and we could well see an uptick in this card when people realise that Silver Tempest goes out of the next rotation. Will never be printed again. We'll see Silver Tempest boxes start to tick up, and then we should see some of the top hits, of course, the Lugia and the Rayquaza, starting to uptick in price. And even cards like this, I know this is a bit of a left field one, but the Serena, $18 US. All we need that's to double in price, and we're 100% up, aren't we? $35 card. It's a very good looking waifu card, isn't it? Like, it's just a nice looking card, and it could well happen as one of the top hits inside Silver Tempest. And another one I would suggest is 151. 151's followed that same trend. There's every chance. I know we're moving forward in time a lot more, but look at the trend continue. This is the Alakazam EX from 151, the SIR, beautiful looking card. Well, phenomenal looking card. It's probably my favorite artwork and I love the Dragonair, but one of my favorite artworks from the 151. Same trend. Like, if you buy into this card in 9 months' time, for argument's sake, who knows? There's every chance 151 could get a reprint. I think, if we're talking odds on reprints, surely 151's got to cop another reprint. Like, it's such a sought after set. It's so nostalgic. It brought so many people back into the hobby. If we're talking profit for the Pokemon company, like, it just makes sense from a business point of view. So this is probably one for the future, some of these 151 cards. Wait for these cards to really hit their floor, really level out. And when we get to the stage where it's, 151 is probably never, or it's extremely unlikely, it's at the end of its life cycle, that's never going to be printed again, that would be the time to buy cards like these. So I guess I'm not saying just go out and buy these because they're going to double in price, because we don't really know. However, if you follow that rule that I suggested, you seem to be giving yourself the best chance and really minimizing a lot of that downside risk. Because like I said at the start, to reiterate all the way back to the start, singles are so volatile, and how do we actually mitigate some of that downside risk when it comes to buying singles? This strategy, in my opinion, is the best way to do that. And I think some of these examples will uptick in price over the next 6, 9, or 12 months. Hopefully this was helpful in some way, shape or form. I'm Michael. This is Pokey Oz, and I'll catch everyone next time.